Hello and welcome, my amazing listeners. Today's shout out goes to my incredible audience tuning in from Ghana, the USA, the UK, the Bahamas, South Africa, Jamaica, Nigeria, Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, Kenya, and Zambia. Thank you so much for all the love and support. And a special shout out to Carol Smith 35527. I see you and appreciate you. Let's get into today's story. She seemed like the perfect wife, but behind closed doors, she had one goal: to make his family disappear from their lives forever. From forcing his mother to sleep on the cold floor to driving his siblings away with lies, she turned his love into a weapon against his own blood. But when a hidden note reveals the truth, will he save his family or stay loyal to the woman tearing them apart? Kofi, a young man from a small village in Ghana, had always been ambitious. He worked hard, excelling at school and making a name for himself. But it wasn't until he met Adwoa that his life truly changed. Adwoa was from an influential, affluent family and had been accustomed to a life of luxury and connections. When they met, it seemed like destiny. Kofi admired her confidence and drive, and Adwoa found his hard work and grounded nature refreshing. As their relationship blossomed, Adwoa supported Kofi, helping him establish a career in a reputable company in the city. She used her connections to get him into circles he could never have reached on his own. And Kofi flourished. They built a life together, a beautiful home, a respected reputation, and Kofi's rising career. To Kofi, this success was something he had dreamed of sharing with his family, and he wanted his loved ones to be part of it. He especially wanted his mother, Afia, to see what he had accomplished. But Adwoa saw things differently. Raised in a life where boundaries were clear and social standing was everything, she believed in exclusivity. Kofi's family, with their rural manners and unpolished ways, didn't fit into her vision of a perfect life. She felt their presence would disrupt the lifestyle she had worked to create, and feared that it would damage their carefully crafted image. Kofi, unaware of her reservations, invited his mother to stay with them. He was excited to share this new chapter of his life, thinking it would bring them closer together as a family. Adwoa, however, masked her resentment with politeness, already forming a plan to keep Kofi's family at a distance. When Kofi's mother, Mami Afia, arrived, she was overjoyed to see her son's new life. She marveled at the large, beautifully furnished house and the success he had achieved. To her, this was the life she had always hoped for her son. Adwoa greeted Mami Afia with a polite but distant smile, already feeling uncomfortable with her presence. Despite her outward hospitality, Adwoa viewed Mami Afia as an intruder in her carefully maintained world. Adwoa assigned Mami Afia to a small, unfurnished room in the back of the house, claiming that the guest rooms were reserved for important visitors. When Kofi questioned why his mother couldn't stay in one of the more comfortable rooms, Adwoa replied, "I just thought she might feel more at home in a simpler space." She convinced him that his mother would be uncomfortable in the fancier guest rooms, planting the idea that his family's traditional ways wouldn't mesh with the sophistication of their new life. Mami Afia was puzzled but too humble to protest. She accepted the room graciously, glad to be near her son. Over the following days, Adwoa's irritation grew as she noticed Mami Afia's traditional habits, the way she spoke in her rural dialect, her practice of saying prayers out loud, and her cooking of local dishes that filled the house with unfamiliar smells. Adwoa saw these behaviors as embarrassing, certain that her friends would find them strange. Gradually, she started planting small doubts in Kofi's mind. She hinted that perhaps Afia had come to the city with a hidden agenda. One night, she casually suggested, "Kofi, have you noticed that your mother seems very attached to this place? I wonder if..." She has other intentions. Kofi laughed it off initially, but Adwoa persisted, saying, I heard stories from a friend about people using, let's just say, unconventional ways to stay close to those who are wealthy. I'm sure that's not the case here, but it's something to consider. Kofi began to feel a twinge of doubt, though he still trusted his mother. The arrival of Kofi's younger sister, Ama, brought new joy to the household. Ama had recently been accepted to a prestigious university in the city, and at Kofi's insistence, came to stay with them for her first semester. Ama was a beautiful, vibrant young woman, full of energy and excitement for city life. She quickly became close to Kofi's colleagues who visited the house for social gatherings. Her friendly and charming personality endearing her to everyone she met. Adwoa, however, saw Ama's popularity as a threat. She noticed how Kofi's male colleagues spoke highly of Ama, admiring her friendliness and grace. In Adwoa's eyes, Ama was drawing unwanted attention, potentially tarnishing Kofi's professional image. During a casual dinner one evening, she raised her concerns. Kofi, have you noticed how Ama behaves around your colleagues? She's so friendly, sometimes a little too much, don't you think? Kofi shook his head. She's just being polite, Adwoa. You asked her to make the guests feel welcome, didn't you? Yes, but there's a line between politeness and flirting. I'm only worried about how it reflects on you. You know how people talk. They might think your family lacks boundaries. Kofi was torn. He loved his sister dearly, but Adwoa's words planted a seed of doubt. When a few colleagues casually mentioned Ama's charm, Adwoa seized the opportunity, telling Kofi that Ama was making an impression, but in a way that might affect his standing. She's young, Adwoa said, and maybe she doesn't understand city life yet. But if she continues like this, people might start talking. I'm just protecting your reputation, Kofi. Uncertain, Kofi became more watchful of Ama, noticing her friendliness in a new light. The bond he shared with his sister began to wane under Adwoa's constant criticisms. Mami Afia, sensing Adwoa's discomfort and feeling out of place, decided to return to the village. Before she left, she spoke to Ama privately. My child, she said, be careful here. City life is different and not everyone may understand our ways. Ama promised to be cautious, staying behind to continue her studies while Afia returned home. Shortly after, Kofi's teenage brother Kwame arrived for a short visit. Kwame was a quiet, respectful young man, and Kofi was thrilled to have him join them. But Adwoa, seeing him as another reminder of Kofi's past, decided to keep him at a distance. He's just a boy, she said dismissively. We don't need to use a guest room for him. He'll be fine in the small back room your mother used. Kofi, feeling indebted to Adwoa's support and wanting to avoid tension, agreed. Kwame, not wanting to make trouble, accepted the arrangement, though he couldn't help but feel slighted. One evening, Adwoa announced that she had misplaced some money from her purse. She hinted that Kwame might have taken it, subtly suggesting that young boys sometimes make mistakes. Kofi, though uncomfortable, decided to ask Kwame. Kwame denied it adamantly, and though Kofi believed him, the incident left him with lingering doubts. Adwoa, pleased, continued to drive a wedge between Kofi and his family, knowing her plans were taking effect. As Ama continued her semester, Adwoa felt her patience wearing thin. She decided it was time to escalate her plans. She organized a gathering at their house, inviting Kofi's colleagues and encouraging Ama to be her usual friendly self. Ama, wanting to make her brother proud, followed Adwoa's instructions, greeting guests warmly and engaging in polite conversation. The next morning, Adwoa accused Ama of being overly familiar with the guests. Ama, You need to be careful with how you interact with men, she chided, making sure Kofi was within earshot. People are starting to talk, and I'm concerned about how it reflects on Kofi and me. This is our home, and we have standards to uphold. Amma, taken aback, tried to explain that she was only following Adwoa's guidance. But Kofi, influenced by Adwoa's persistent warnings, sided with his wife. Heartbroken, Amma agreed to move to campus sooner than planned, realizing that her brother's wife had successfully turned him against her. As she packed, she thought back to her mother's warning, now painfully aware of the truth. Kwame, determined to clear his name, continued visiting during his holidays. Adwoa, however, found a new way to push him away. One afternoon, she claimed to have lost a valuable piece of jewelry. She slyly planted it in Kwame's bag, and when she discovered it, she confronted him in front of Kofi, accusing him of theft. Kwame was mortified and insisted he had done nothing wrong, but Kofi, humiliated and disappointed, didn't know whom to believe. Adwoa's influence was too strong, and despite Kwame's pleas, Kofi asked him to return to the village. Feeling betrayed, Kwame left without a word, his spirit crushed. With Kofi's family now distant, Adwoa felt she had finally secured her ideal life. She had complete control over the household, but Kofi began feeling a deep sense of unease. He missed the laughter of his siblings and the warmth of his mother's presence. Their absence left a void, and he found himself replaying Adwoa's accusations in his mind, haunted by a nagging sense of guilt. Late one night, he found himself wandering through the quiet house, each empty room echoing memories of his family. He started noticing inconsistencies in Adwoa's stories, small details that didn't quite add up. The nagging feeling grew, and he began questioning whether he had been too quick to believe his wife. One evening, as Kofi was organizing paperwork, he discovered a note tucked beneath a stack of files. It was from Fiona, their housemaid, who had worked quietly in the background throughout the chaos. In the note, Fiona expressed her concerns, gently hinting that Adwoa had planted evidence against Amma and Kwame. She wrote, "I have seen things that make me uncomfortable, and I believe you deserve to know the truth. Please talk to your family." Kofi confronted Fiona, who, though scared, recounted incidents she had observed. Adwoa's staged theft, her manipulation of Amma's interactions, and her relentless attempts to isolate Kofi from his family. Kofi was devastated, realizing how he had allowed himself to be manipulated. Kofi confronted Adwoa, who initially denied everything, but faced with Fiona's testimony and Kofi's determination, she eventually broke down, admitting her schemes. "I was just trying to protect our life, Kofi," she cried. "Your family was taking over. I couldn't let them ruin everything we've built together." Kofi, heartbroken and angry, demanded to know why she would go to such lengths. Adwoa admitted her fears of losing control and her resentment toward his family's influence. Kofi, feeling betrayed, questioned whether he could ever trust her again. Determined to make amends, Kofi traveled to his village to apologize to his family. He visited his mother, Afia, first, confessing his mistakes and asking for her forgiveness. Afia, though hurt, forgave him, comforting him as only a mother could. Kofi then visited Amma and Kwame, who, though still wounded, were relieved to hear the truth and accepted his apology. Back in the city, Kofi told Adwoa that if she wanted their marriage to survive, she needed to make amends with his family. Adwoa, realizing the depth of her mistakes, agreed and reached out to Amma and Kwame, apologizing sincerely. She even visited Afia, humbled and remorseful, promising to be a better daughter-in-law. In the months that followed, Kofi and Adwoa worked together to rebuild their relationship, attending therapy and re-establishing trust. Kofi's family returned to visit with new boundaries and mutual respect in place. Adwoa made an effort to include his family in their lives, cooking traditional meals for them and suggesting regular family gatherings. Humbled by her near loss, she committed to change, knowing that family was the foundation of their happiness. In the end, the silent walls that once held so many secrets now echoed with laughter, forgiveness, and love as Kofi's family and Adwoa began anew, bound by trust and mutual understanding. If you were drawn into this story of love, betrayal, and family, then don't miss out on more powerful tales just like this one. Subscribe now and join our community of readers who love deep stories, unexpected twists, and unforgettable characters. Hit the subscribe button so you're always first to dive into our next story. Don't just watch, be part of the journey.